Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. An update on the standoff earlier today in Lincoln that ended in an arrest.
36-year-old Stephen Schiffermiller was taken into custody, and police say this isn't the first time he's been involved in a standoff. Channel 8's Mackenzie Johnson joins us in studio with more. Mackenzie?
Police were called to a residence near 36th and Van Dorn Streets this afternoon for terroristic threats and misuse of 911. Then history repeated itself as Stephen Schiffermiller began his second standoff with police.
Officers responded to a home just north of Van Dorn Street on South 36th. The male suspect, 36 years of age, came out and then ran back inside and barricaded himself. Attempted to call on him to come outside, and he didn't do so, so the SWAT team was summoned to come out here. We've been out on scene for a few hours.
Assistant Chief Jason Stilley says Stephen Schiffermiller was arrested around 3.5 hours after police arrived to his residence near 36th and Van Dorn Streets. Stilley says they were originally called for terroristic threats and misuse of 911. Schiffermiller did have a warrant out for his arrest. Stilley says he will be charged with terroristic threats. Police removed his front door during the standoff.
Occasionally, we have to do certain things to the home that might encourage them to come to us. That was one of those things, was taking the door. But it seemed to work, and again, everybody's safe, and we're fortunate for that.
Stilley says this wasn't the first time they've dealt with Schiffermiller. Back in January of 2021, they had a standoff with him at the same home for over 2 hours. They were called to the area after a woman says Schiffermiller was waving a hatchet at her. He was charged with threatening to use explosives, resisting arrest, and was convicted of possessing a destructive device. The bomb squad was called this time as a precaution, but they weren't needed.
Precautionary, we always invite Lincoln Fire and Rescue, both medics, and in this particular case, we were worried about maybe flammability hazards. So we had an engine company that was out here on scene and stationed with us for the entirety of the incident.
Because of the standoff, Southeast High School locked all the doors and kept everyone inside.
So we coordinate with Lincoln Public Schools and also parochial schools. We leave their procedures up to them, but we let them know that there's an active incident in the area.
Stilley says Schiffermiller came out of the home to police and was arrested without incident.
Looking at about 3.5 hours it took ultimately, but you know, when you're patient on these things, everybody's safe, and that's ultimately what we want out of these.
Schiffermiller has since been lodged in jail. We'll keep you updated with any new information on our website, klkntv.com.